Thanks for tuning in to Vitality and Motion. Let this be a place to grow your mindset and prioritize movement. All audio is original with music and production support from Riverside as my editing platform. This podcast is for education and inspiration only, and any studies or products I mention are simply for context. Take what fits in your life and check in with your healthcare medical providers as you feel is necessary.
Alrighty, let's get into this. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Vitality in Motion. I'm your host, Maddie, and today we're joined by a special guest, Emily LaRock. We're in school together. We're going to be discussing group exercise, exercise classes, a little bit of pelvic floor. So, yeah, without further ado, hello, Emily. What's up? How you doing?
Hello, I'm good. It's good to see you.
Yes. Okay, so do you want to tell us a little bit about your background with exercise classes, your schooling background, and what ultimately led you to pursue PT degree?
Yeah. So, like Madison, I went to JMU. I got my bachelor's in kinesiology with a concentration in exercise science. I was pre-PT in undergrad, but I ended up not going down that route right away just because I was a little burnt out and I still wanted to stay within the field. So then I decided to get my master's at ODU in exercise science. That's where I started teaching group fitness classes. So I have a dance background. When I was at JMU, I did my internship for my program with the group exercise department my last semester of senior year. So
Cool. I
that
didn't know.
kind of jump started it. And then once I decided to get my master's, I got a graduate assistant position in the rec center at ODU for group exercise and instructional programming. Taught a little bit of everything, bar, cycle, strength training, cardio classes, pretty much everything but yoga and Pilates I taught at some point or another.
Dang,
I think I
girl.
was teaching like 8 classes a week at one point, which was not great for my body, but great for other things.
Pop
Um,
off.
and then I finished school, and then I moved to DC and worked at American University for about a year, doing their wellness programming in their rec
Cool.
center. Then realized that just wasn't
Filling your
giving
cup
me
up.
everything I needed,
Right.
and I moved back home to Virginia Beach and was looking for jobs. I got a job as a clinical exercise specialist, and I was like, okay, this is the determining factor. Either I'm going to get this job and I'm going to hate it and realize this wasn't for me, or I'm going to love it and know for a fact this is the route I'm going to take. And that's what happened. Got to work with a lot of different types of patients and was like, okay, yep, we're back. We're back on the PT train. So that's where we are now.
Nice.
Yeah.
Awesome. I love that. And actually, I have to admit something. I was stalking your Insta the other day, and in your tagged posts, you have a bunch of like exercise videos that would you, I think,
Oh my
posted
God. That was during prime
COVID.
COVID and
Yeah.
I had finished my master's in December of 2019.
Hmm.
So that March, when I was looking for jobs, the world decided to shut down. So
Yeah.
I was still working as a fitness instructor. So I was their pilot tester for almost everything we did virtually.
That's crazy. I'm sure that added a whole other element because you probably had to like plan on top of what you're doing for your exercise classes, but then also plan the video and whatever else.
I had to get really comfortable really quick with recording stuff. But I was teaching bar, I was teaching HIIT classes, core classes, and people were logging on, but some people had their cameras off, which I get it.
Right.
But so then I'm just teaching to a bunch of black squares, hopefully you're doing it right, but I can't really
Right.
correct you right now. I mean, it was an experience, but
I'm sure. I'm sure. Glad we're out of that era, but
oh my God,
wow, that's
same.
crazy. My next question is, what is your favorite pump up song to get everybody going
Yeah,
in your
that was
opinion?
I didn't even have to think about this answer because it's Lose Control by Missy Elliott and Sierra. I've had a long history with that song. I used to request it on the radio when I was in middle school
Oh my
because
gosh,
I
I love
loved
that.
it.
I honestly
Um,
forgot that you could do that, like request songs on
right?
the
I know.
radio.
I used to call all the time and be like, "Can you play Lose Control?" But I to this day I still love it. It makes it into my top songs still every year, and it's like a 20 something year old song at this point. But I have like 1,000 playlists from different group exercise classes. I take that very seriously. Lose control is like that's my go-to. That's like anytime I need like something to get excited, lose
Hype
control.
up. Love it. Love it. I love recently I've been listening to a lot of like 170 BPMs
Mm-hmm.
running playlist mixes. They make like remixes of
Yeah.
songs and honestly it really gets you going.
I used those types of mixes a lot too in class. Those BPM mixes are like a lifesaver.
Oh yeah, they're so fire. And Spotify's nice with like the transitions they'll do too.
Yeah.
So okay. So next question is what was your favorite class to teach?
Like I said, I taught a lot of stuff, but the two certifications that I actually still currently have are my bar certification and my cycling certification. Bar is through Bar
Okay.
Above, cycling is through Schwinn. Those don't expire. Like you
Nice.
have them forever, whereas like some of the other ones I had, you have to go through a renewal process. Bar has a really special place in my heart from being a dancer. It just like felt
Right.
very like natural.
I've never taken a bar class, so that's kind of cool. So it's kind of like a dancey, almost like hip hop in a way, or are you doing more like,
So it's more like ballet based,
oh, okay, cool.
but it's also got Pilates in there. It's also got a little bit of yoga in there. It's tons of repetitions with a low weight. That's the
Okay.
biggest thing. So that's why everyone hears
Yeah.
about the pulsing,
Yeah,
the burning, but you're holding
right.
like a 2 pound weight as opposed to like whatever you would normally squat with. Um,
Gotcha.
the guys that used to come take bar classes got humbled very fast, and it was always my favorite thing to watch.
Oh, I'm sure. I don't know if you've ever seen the movie Game Plan with Dwayne The Rock Johnson, but he
Mhm.
goes to a ballet class and it shows like the end scene and he's like drenched in sweat and like just completely demolished. And he's like a football, he plays like a football player in
Oh,
the movie. So I'm
oh
sure it's
yeah.
probably a similar vibe.
They would grab like
Interesting.
10-pound weights, and I'm like, you're gonna regret that like pretty quickly.
Sometimes you just have to let them figure it out though.
And that's what I did. I was like, look, I recommend no more than like 5 pounds. And
Right.
I didn't even teach with 5 pounds. So I was like, and then you'd watch them like midway through, set them down and walk back over to like the barbell, their dumbbell rack and grab like a lighter. And I'm like, I told you. But,
No,
no,
that
they were
sounds
super
good.
fun classes to teach.
That's awesome. I'll have to take a bar class. Next question is, what's something that you wish was different about group exercise or something that you didn't necessarily, I guess, love about it?
My experience with group fitness has purely been in campus settings, right? Like JMU, ODU, American University. The biggest barrier I see is financially, obviously. JMU, it was included as a student, your membership in the gym, you were taking classes. ODU, I think, was the same, if I'm not mistaken. But American students had to buy a pass
Mm.
every year, every
Mhm.
semester. And that was like a huge barrier for people because they wanted to participate, but if they weren't able to, afford that price for whatever reason, that
Right.
limited them being able to get in. Um,
Especially like if you're
yeah.
already paying for a gym membership and then you also have to
Right.
pay for group X, it's pricey.
I think even like outside of collegiate recreation, like just places in general, it is expensive to
Mhm.
participate in a lot of those classes. Like boutique type classes and your standard gym classes might have additional fees. The other things I see is there's so much like social media about group fitness, and I think that makes people feel pressured in various ways. I think you have to like find what works for you. It's not a one size fits all. And then my biggest thing, and I ran into this problem so many times, is safety concerns as an
Mhm.
instructor because there are certain places or brands or whatever you want to call them that don't require a lot of their
Mhm.
people to get certified. They go through some sort of training to teach the formats they're teaching, but there's so much that they're missing because
Right.
they're not going through ACE or NASM or some of these bigger companies that certify where you're learning more like safety indications, even like basic stuff like cueing sometimes.
Mhm.
I don't think you have to be an exercise science major to be an instructor because I think if you
Right.
love what you're doing and you care, go for it.
Right.
It helps, but I don't think that's necessarily like a requirement.
Yeah.
But I just know there's because of how popular it is, it's becoming easier and easier for people to just take a course, do whatever they want, but somebody passes out in their class or
Right.
they up their intensity too much on something, it's like, what do you do?
Yeah.
Um, So
Definitely.
I'm a stickler for form and
Mhm.
safety.
Definitely. I think that's the thing is like it is nice when people have that background in like exercise science or whatever, so they have more of a basis and like you were saying, know the precautions and everything. It's great that anybody can go and get these certifications, but at the same time, like you have to be aware of your surroundings and yeah, you could get into some real trouble if, you
Yeah.
don't have an idea of like how to maybe perform CPR or whatever it might be.
And there's certain places that usually in a school you're insured through the college.
Right.
But there are places that require instructors to have some sort of like liability insurance of their
Yeah.
own for those reasons. We had like a prep course. So like if we knew people that wanted to get certified, they took a class with us. I helped teach it at ODU. Um, to prepare you to take the exam, but also like it we talked about not just planning your classes. We talked about making sure you're CPR certified. We talked about
Right.
first aid. We talked about scenarios. If someone comes in and they have diabetes, like we talk about this in school all the time, and their
And
blood
that's
sugars are a certain
yeah.
level, it's like, what do you do?
I'm just like thinking out loud, people who are making videos on TikTok or Instagram who are maybe not certified, showing their fitness routine, like that's great. But at the same time, if other people are trying your videos and I don't know, you just
You
never
have to
know.
put
Like,
those disclaimers out there. I like even me now, like, yes, I have some certifications and I have the background I do, but even when I was teaching, I'd be like, look, I'm giving you what I'm able to give you, but people will come
yeah,
up and just ask you whatever they want because you're a person in a leadership position.
right,
And I would have people come up to me all the time asking me about injuries or asking me about what they should do. And I'm always like, I can only give you so much that's out of my scope. Like, you need
right,
to seek a professional in a different area. I will
right.
never give advice that I'm not confident
No,
it's
totally. I
coming from.
agree. And I think that's why, like, you should go to the expert or the person who is the most qualified or whatever in whatever you're seeking advice from.
Mhm.
Um, okay. Next question. What exercise do you see the most at the gym that people have bad form with?
Yeah, I see this at the gym. I see this at work. I see this everywhere else are like
I
one
had
of
that written
the
on my thing too.
it's for whatever reason, that exercise just really gets people tripped up. Actually, one of our PTAs at work, he's the first person I saw do this, and I was like, that's genius. When you're teaching somebody an RDL, he gets one of those big foam rollers
Mhm.
and rests it on their legs, and they rest their arms on top. So they're literally rolling down their legs and
Yeah,
rolling
that's a
back
good
up.
tip.
Because if not, they're just going into like a squat usually or
Right.
something. That is like the hill I will probably die on forever is RDLs.
I also see a lot of people messing up bicep curls. There's a lot of swinging going on.
That's why queuing is like so important.
Yeah, no, for sure. And when I first started working as a PTA, I thought queuing was annoying, honestly. But it really does matter because if they're just doing something, they're not going to get the true benefit if they're just going through the motions and not actually doing it the correct way. So you really do have to be conscious and constantly queuing. And sometimes people have better body awareness than others. So it's just some
Yeah.
people take more tactile cues. What we would do in the clinic sometimes, especially maybe more for like a deadlift, is we'd put like a PVC pipe behind, have them rested on their back so they weren't doing like a squat or like sitting down, more so like getting that forward motion.
Yeah.
So that's that's another tip. Or another thing that I feel like we see is like a lot of arched backs,
Mm-hmm.
like people just not like engaging their glutes as
Yeah.
if so. Yeah, keep an eye out for those guys. Okay, the next question I have is, did you ever teach a group X class that kind of emphasized more of like pelvic floor stuff? Because I know you're interested in that field, and we'll get more into that in a second. Yeah,
Yeah.
what's your thought?
If I had to give like a just a general like this class to me is more about pelvic floor, I would say something like yoga because of the breath
Mhm.
work you're doing in those classes is
Right.
a huge piece of pelvic floor therapy. So I would I would say probably yoga. A little bit of Pilates, but Pilates is also very high intensity. But again, I don't think it's something that's talked about enough.
I
So,
agree. I agree. Yeah, we're
yeah.
gonna dive into this topic because Emily's a pelvic floor girly. Tell us a little bit about pelvic floor and why you find it important, your background in it.
Yeah. So pelvic floor therapy is I jokingly tell people all the time, I'm like, I would recommend it to anybody. Anybody, even if you don't think you need it, maybe you need it. Like it's
Right.
very all-encompassing. And I think people hear pelvic floor therapy and they think people who are pregnant, people who have just given birth, those are like the big ones. I remember working with somebody and a patient, and I was kind of trying to connect with them and I said something about I was a patient here too, totally get what you're explaining. And they're like, "Oh, how old is your baby?" And I was
Mm-hmm.
like, "Actually, I don't have one." And but obviously, pregnancy related conditions are treated in pelvic health therapy, but you also have urinary issues, urinary incontinence, bowel incontinence is another one. Pain during intercourse is a huge one that people see. You also have people that have endometriosis that might be experiencing symptoms and pain that can be helped by pelvic health therapy. There's also another condition called diastasis recti,
Mm-hmm.
where the abdominal muscles separate. It can happen in men, it can happen in women after giving birth. And then you have like people that have just very generalized pelvic pain. And a lot
Mm-hmm.
of times you see former dancers, gymnasts, cheerleaders. I mean, I fall into that category. So it really has so many things about it. And again, it's not just for women. I'm fortunate enough that when I started working as a clinical exercise specialist, we have pelvic floor therapy where I work. And so I got to not only work with their patients, but work with them. And I didn't really know much about it beforehand. I
Right. I
might
mean,
have
it's
heard
kind
like
of
a
like
little
a
bit.
taboo topic, I feel like,
It
until
is.
recently.
It really
Like,
is. And my little fun fact later has something to do with that, which I'm excited
ooh,
about. But
yeah.
I like that's where I got exposed and I like thought about it and that's when I started realizing that maybe I needed it. I was a dancer, stopped dancing after like 20 something years. My body definitely felt that shift of constant movement, constant stretching, constant bracing, everything. And then
Mhm.
I
Nothing.
stopped and I was still doing all of that because it's like
Right.
a habit you can't break. And I think it was causing pain for me. And so
Yeah.
initially that's why I started going. And then I ended up realizing I had potentially some other stuff going on. I don't have like a 100% diagnosis, but we're pretty sure I have something called adenomyosis, which is under the endometriosis umbrella, but a little bit different, not talked about as much.
Do you
But
want to
that's,
explain what
yeah,
that is a little more so people
yeah.
can understand?
So endometriosis, which is still not talked about enough, but more talked about, the tissue in your uterus starts growing outside of the uterus, and so it can impact other organs. It can even come all the way up to your lungs. I mean, there's
Wow.
it it can spread. Adenomyosis, the tissue is still growing, but it's staying within the uterus. So it's actually going into the walls of the uterus and makes it feel more like a muscle. So, like
Mm,
for me, one of my biggest symptoms I had was cramping constantly. I wouldn't even be on my cycle and I'd be like, why do I feel like I am? Like,
right.
it's really hard to just easily diagnose those things. And a lot of times, like surgery and stuff is like the end all be all best way, but they are learning
Right.
more ways to
Oh,
diagnose it and treat it,
yeah.
which is great.
Mhm.
And those conditions can impact your urinary
Right.
incontinence issues or your bowel incontinence issue. Like there's a chain and it
Yeah.
goes up and down the chain. So because I saw what it did for me and like just my experience with the patients, I really connected with a lot of the patients I would work with. And so I was like, well, maybe this is kind of the path I'm going to take. And I
Yeah.
still love so many other aspects of physical therapy. Like if I could do it all, I would. It's just not
Mhm.
practical, but
Right.
I had just have a soft spot there. And I think just from what I went through and getting a lot of unanswered questions for a long time and trying different things. And I think
Mhm.
people need to become more aware of it. And I think being a dancer, we'll get into this, I think, in a different question, but there's certain things you're taught as a dancer to do that actually can end up causing more problems in the future. I think women's
Yeah.
health is just something we don't talk about enough. And so if I can be a part of that in any way, I want to.
I think you'll definitely make a great advocate for that, especially with your background and experiencing pelvic floor PT and what it did for you. I think that's amazing. So I'm so glad. Honestly, I feel like I could benefit from it too. Just like you said, from being a gymnast, I've tried to do more deep core work, but it's really hard to almost cue yourself. Like
Yeah.
it's a lot easier to cue other people. And I will say, I remember learning in PTA school that a common sign that you may have pelvic floor dysfunction is if you have a lower back pain all
Hmm.
the way across. And I do experience that. So
Yeah.
something that I need to look into as well.
I think there are things we don't even realize we're doing
Right, right.
that are a sign of some form of pelvic floor dysfunction. Yeah.
It's all, like you said, it goes up and down the chain. It's all connected.
Hmm.
Okay, so the next question is, how does pelvic floor PT change your perspective on core strength and exercises in general?
We think pelvic health is just focused in one general area of the body, but it impacts so much. It impacts your posture. It can impact your the health of your feet. It can impact just your upper body. Like it literally does everything.
Everything.
Um, and we can compensate for pelvic issues with our core or with
Mhm.
our glutes. I'm like a notorious glute gripper. I mean, I was at the gym the other day lifting and I had to literally stop and be like, okay, Emily, relax your glutes because you don't
Mhm.
need them for this. And it's just
Right.
making everything more tense for you. So we compensate a lot for some of those issues by like really squeezing our core, really squeezing our glutes. I was having a lot of problems when I was lifting overhead where I
Mhm.
would feel pelvic pain or like something going on. And the breathing I did in therapy helped me stop having that. We have been told as a society to not breathe the way we should breathe.
Yes.
And everyone thinks you have to suck in and do all that, and that can
Mhm.
actually cause like more harm than
More
good.
pain or more issues.
So, I think it's breathing is like a huge game changer, but it's not obviously like the only thing. Like we said, core exercises, it's like how are you breathing when you're exerting effort? How are you bracing when you're doing a lift? I mean, it could go on, but there's
Mhm.
so many like ways it impacts not only like your workouts, but even your
Everyday
everyday
life. Definitely. I
life,
know
how you
sometimes.
sleep, how you sit in a chair,
Mhm.
getting in and out of your car. I mean, yeah, it's
No, it's everywhere. Like sometimes you don't even realize you're doing it
no.
until
I
you
literally,
like
it's
become
such a
aware of
habit.
it.
It's changed how I've worked out for sure.
So for the most part, do you feel like since you've had pelvic floor PT and you've worked on more of that being conscious of your breathing, you've had less pain with
Hmm.
lifts and stuff?
It's a come and go thing, and sometimes it's a matter of like maybe I went too heavy on a
Mhm.
weight and I'm not ready for that yet,
Right.
you know. But the good thing is, I would say overall, I've probably had more pain-free workouts in the last 4 to 5 months than
Awesome.
I did before, which is great. But even then, if I do have pain or certain symptoms, I know what I need to do to fix that
Hmm.
because of PT. So like there's certain stretching positions or like breathing positions because you can breathe in so many different positions
Right, right.
that I know worked for me the best, like in relieving things.
I've been trying to do some more, especially if I'm before I do like core work, I'll do like the 360 breaths in different positions just to kind of get everything warmed up and working. Because I feel like that helps me engage. I really have to like cue myself because if I just go out blindly and start doing
Hmm.
exercises, my core is just not engaged the proper way. So it's
Yeah.
kind of like a foundation for us. It's our center core. And if our center
Hmm.
core is weak, then the rest of us is just going to fall apart, like you're
I
saying.
would,
So,
yeah. I got sick at the end of last semester, and because I had been coughing so much, I had all this like rib pain
yes.
from the re
Yeah.
repeated movements of coughing. I knew it would go away, but I remember I was like, I need to do my like rib cage breathing. And I like
Mhm.
laid on my side, and it's like kind of a mind game you play, but you have to like I like had to inhale and like imagine the air going towards my ribs and like
Mhm.
filling up my ribs and then like letting it come back down. And it was like, I know how to do this. I
Like you have
just,
to like retrain your body.
yeah, literally. I'm like, you know this. Why weren't you like doing this before? And it just
Right.
clicks one day and you're like, oh yeah.
I guess the more that you are aware of it and that your body is picking up on it, like muscles have memory so that you
Hmm.
won't have to think about it as much. I feel like especially if you are having any kind of dysfunction in the beginning, it takes time to like build that muscular connection back to like get
Yeah.
those muscles, especially between your ribs, because you do have muscles between your ribs too, like all of that
Yeah.
connected again.
I had a hard time exhaling for a long time. There's so many little like things there that you have to kind of connect to get
Mhm.
the result you want.
Right. I would teach a little bit of like the belly breathing when I was working, but I would always use this reference to people, and I feel like people loved it. You walked 10 miles into the forest this certain way, and now we have to walk those 10 miles back. So it just kind of puts things in perspective that it does take time with these things. Even with everything, we just all want instant results. And
Yeah.
unfortunately, it doesn't roll like that. So, yeah, I think
No,
just the main thing is with this is like it takes time and takes patience. It's like an onion. We just keep
it
peeling back
literally
the
is.
layers, and there's so much
That's
involved in
why
it.
I'm excited about these fun facts because I learned something that I didn't know and I was like, oh my God, I'm
Ooh.
obsessed with this. So,
Yeah, all right. Well, let's dive into it. I think that's our last little question here. I asked her, give us fun facts that'll blow our minds, or just
so
any fun fact.
I have
Let's hear
two
it.
fun facts. The
Okay.
first one's short. First one I learned about, and we were kind of talking about how it's not talked about enough, or and it should just be very normal things. So in France, apparently, after women give birth, they are given at least 10 mandatory pelvic floor therapy sessions that are covered.
Wow. That's awesome. That's huge.
I wish it was just like such a normal thing here that it was just like protocol, like you
I
do.
agree. I agree.
So I thought that was really cool. The other thing I found out, I did not know about this. A lot of people associate Kegels with pelvic health, which
Mhm.
again are a part of it, but they're not the
Right.
only thing. There was a Dr. Kegel, and that's where the name came from, and that's what kind of spearheaded all of
Everyone
this.
always names everything after themselves.
And he was a man, again, just putting that out there. But before him, there was this woman named Margaret Morris, and I'm obsessed with her now. She was a
Mhm.
dancer from London, ended up getting her PT degree because she was like, wow, this could be really beneficial for everybody, women in
Mhm.
particular. And she started working with a midwife who had like written a book about exercising after birth. But she really got into like the breath work and like activating and deactivating your pelvic floor muscles during movement. Really kind of spearheaded some of the early like pelvic health
Yeah.
therapy trends, but like we don't talk about her. We don't really remember her.
Yeah.
She might have like invented the Kegels before he did, you know? It's
Right.
like
Yeah.
so I learned about her and I was like, "Oh my God, what an icon. I love her." Now.
That's awesome. No, I
So
love
I
it.
like learned that today and I was like, "Oh my God, I have to add this."
Yeah, this was a great conversation. So thank you for coming on and
Yeah.
giving us sharing your spiel about, group X and pellet floor and all the things.
No, this was so fun. I've been so excited to do this.
I'm so glad that we could do it. Thanks everybody again for tuning in, and I hope you have a great rest of your day, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks again so much for being here. If you're looking to connect with me on socials, my Instagram is vitalityandmotion_. My YouTube is at vitalityandmotion with two N's at the end. And then my email is vitalityandmotion@gmail.com.